if you are able to say, I have 10,000 people or 100,000 people on my email list, and that I can sell 20%, 30% of them every year a product, there is a model that you can work on and that you can always monetize.
I think Klaviyo or email marketing becomes a real cornerstone of e-commerce businesses because you can build up your own list, and it's an audience list that you actually own, and nobody can take that away from you necessarily. So I guess let's dive into more so the importance of email marketing for somebody that's just getting started with an e-commerce business, starting to sell physical products online. Why do you think email marketing is so important?
Well, I think it's very important for the biggest thing that you're going to run into when you run an e-commerce store over time, and that is you have to find a way to economically convert people. There's lots of different ways to do that, but email is one of the most efficient ways to do that. And it's the one thing that you own at the end of the day. And when you sell a business, it's the thing that you own. So if you have a large list, it adds value to your business. If you are able to say, I have 10,000 people or 100,000 people on my email list, and that I can sell 20%, 30% of them every year a product, there is a model that you can work on and that you can always monetize. And so one of the things I find is that a lot of clients who we work with or we help coach on this is that everyone in the early days is thinking about just getting customers. They just think about, I got to make a sale today, right? I got to pay for what I've got to sell, and so that's great. But the problem is that a lot of times what they don't think about is, how do I maximize my ad spend? How do I maximize whatever I'm doing to get traffic? And the only way you can do that is really through email marketing, because it's the one thing that you own and you can constantly go back to. And I think that's one of the things that over time, more experienced entrepreneurs and people who have stores for a while start to really hone in on. And so I see and work with people that have $10 million stores or $5,000 stores or $1,000 store. But the thing is, if the earlier you start your email list and the more that you keep at this, the bigger your list gets, and then the more you can go back to it, And so I think that's one of the reasons why email marketing is so pivotal to it. And let's face it, if the average bounce rate is over 60% and you have people that come to your site a day, then 6 have already left and maybe 1 buys. So what are you going to do with the rest that come to your site? You've got to find a way to do that. And so Klaviyo and platforms like it have a really good way to be able to show you and get you to capture that person, nurture them, convert them, personalize what you want for them. So those are some of the reasons why you really want to hone in on email marketing.
I think entrepreneurs, a lot of the time, when they first get started with a business, you put up your Google Ads campaign and you think that will do all the work for you. But then, like you said, and the analogy I loved in the first part that you mentioned was that, like a leaky bucket, if you can't capture the water that you're pouring into a bucket, then it'll just pour out the bottom as fast as you're pouring into the bucket. And that's similar. If we're not capturing emails for a lot of the people that are onto our website, you're losing a lot there and you're wasting or missing out. So with Klaviyo then, more specifically, first of all, you mentioned about the importance of building a nice large list, because then it can be, add a multiple onto your business if you decide to sell it. How would you go about actually building a large list? You've got some tips for us?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest ways you can do that right off the bat is to put an offer. A pop-up is typically what you see on your site to collect that information. Now, it can be either free information you want to give them. Let's say I sell knives. Then I could create a way to maybe use a knife. It could be camping knife. It could be for carving, meat, or it could be anything of that nature. So it could be a free, offer, free something or other to get people that are interested in it. The most common one you see, and the one that most Klaviyo users run into right off the bat, is they offer 10%. Now, that sounds great. And we've studied over 500 Klaviyo stores, and 10% off is usually the way that everyone starts off that way. And it's a good way to do it if they come to your site. Or you can also use that to go out and make that coupon and put it on other places on the internet, whether that be social media, could be user groups, it could be whatever target market you're going after, and say, hey, we've got something here, come and get it. And then that way you're getting people to subscribe to something of value. It has to be an equal trade. So if you're going to offer a discount on your product, or if you're going to teach them how to use it, or maybe a pain point that your target audience has with something, offering it as like a guide or a PDF or whatever that is, you want to offer that so that people can do that. I'll give you an example from our business that built our list far greater than we ever thought. So one of our product lines was in healthcare and beauty. And what happened was we used to send out a little sample pack inside the packaging that said, hey, come to the site, you can register and get free samples. And so it was only for customers. They bought it, they got it. It was really so that we could start to test and validate that. Well, somebody posted it to some Facebook groups, and all of a sudden we had a massive run on all these people who wanted the free samples. And all of a sudden we went from having a few thousand people on our list to having over 30,000 people on our list. And so now what do? You've got 30,000 people who got free samples. You don't want to say no to them, but then you got to figure out how to pay for all this. And so that kind of is how we did it. We were able to use the free sample. That was just really a mistake, or at least one of those things in life that happens. And so we had to figure out a way to monetize it. And that's how we were able to do it. I think that far too often when Klaviyo, especially if your audience is new to Klaviyo and you see what they offer, I think that one of the things that I see too often when they ask us to come in and help them improve it is they don't think about doing anything different than what they've been told, because Klaviyo shows you only one point of view, which is 10% off, 15% off, 20% off your product. Sometimes that's not the biggest thing that could be a good trigger for your audience. It could be a bundle. It could be something that adds value. It could be saying, not only do you get an iPhone, but you get an iPhone with a charger and the cable and the case and the car mount. Like, you don't always have to make it just a discount. And so I challenge anyone that's saying, hey, this doesn't work well for us. Well, think of other ways to make a better offer, because that's really what you want. You want to make an offer that gets people to fill out that list, and then put that offer everywhere free you can at first. Go post it wherever you can and tell them, hey, come to our site and fill this out, and you can either get a coupon for it, or you can, immediately take action. So there's lots of ways to do that, but that's how I would start if I were, getting started in this and had to think about economically easy ways to build a list, because that's how you could do it without having to put all the money into advertising and experiment with advertising and try to get good at advertising and targeting and all the complicated things. That's why, advertising is highly effective, but also expensive, especially if you're just starting out.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the creative strategy that you went with the free sample option. And then, like you said, it kind of went viral in this group of enthusiasts. And before you knew it, you had a fulfillment problem, not a sales problem. And so it's a great way of reframing it. And I think you're spot on from what I see in like loads of entrepreneurs starting out. And I don't know if it's just because like Klaviyo has like a template where they suggest that you offer 10% or something, but everyone seems to go for that percentage discount, which firstly, like you say, is a bit lazy, because it's like, well, you could actually save that percentage margin rather than just giving it away and offer them something that they really want of value that just adds to the value rather than just trying to compete on price. So that I totally see. But the other thing is with high ticket products, like people who are using this model, the Home Turf Advantage model, if you're selling a product that's say £2,000 and you have a 30% profit margin, which is fairly typical, you might make £600 in profit on that sale. Well, when you give away 10%, it might not sound like much, but that's a third of your margin, right? And that can be the difference between being able to scale effectively, hire a team, pay for additional ads, really run the business effectively, and making things quite unnecessarily difficult. So I totally agree. I think having that creativity at the beginning is great. And I love what you said about
the importance of building a list early in your journey, because I know when I started, I set up Klaviyo, but I didn't realize the value of setting it up at the time. It was only months later where the dust had settled, the business was up and running, sales were coming in. I went back and thought, oh, thank goodness I set that up at the beginning, because now I've got someone to actually market to. Otherwise, yes, I bet so many entrepreneurs get 6 months into their journey, a year in, and they're like, right, let's do some email marketing. And then they look and it says 0 subscribers and they think, oh, it's because I never set up a pop-up or a coupon of any kind. So great point. And I think having that second bite at the cherry that you get with email, or third or fourth or fifth bite, so underappreciated. In a perfect scenario, entrepreneurs would think you run ads to the site, someone buys, great, you earn your profit. But the reality is someone might not buy the first or the second or the third time. And if you have email, it's that constant free follow-up mechanism, isn't it? So I know that's an important aspect of our business for sure, and many successful e-commerce businesses.